Well, time now to check in with the eNCA Money Desk, where David Murugan is standing by. David, obviously, apart from those issues around striking workers, particularly SAA, there's also a call to check in on procurement reports.
Yeah, and you'll find that those protesters at the airport calling for that particular route to be pursued. I mean, EY selected a total of 48 contracts across SAA Airchefs, Mango and SAA Technical. Let's take a look at it. Now, the reason why we're mentioning this particular report, it was out in 2015, and what the unions are saying, they want to actually pursue this report. They want management to do that. EY looked at 48 contracts in 2015. It identified 28 of those contracts, or 60%, were flagged for improperly negotiated. And what's happening here is that in 2017, the Labour Court ordered investigations into those individuals, and the next year, the Chief Financial Officer, Phumeza Nchanchi, and former Acting Chief Executive, Musa Zwane, were found guilty by an internal disciplinary committee of gross financial misconduct for an aborted PNP tender. But this week, the striking unions say they want more of those irregularities that were flagged in these reports to be pursued. And what they talk about is that contracts that are still running in the maintenance section, for example, busing, aircraft cleaning and baggage handling. So it's not good enough that SAA might speak about increasing their wages, which they are not, but they're saying just structurally they want reports that were flagged, the inappropriate or improper procurement in previous years at SAA. They want that, Faith, to be thoroughly pursued.
Well, while that's all happening, it appears as though the mining sector, though, is making way in terms of wage negotiations.
Yeah, better luck in this sector. What happened here was that the AMCU grouping decided that they would finally put ink to paper. They have signed the wage agreement for 1,000 Rand a month extra. According to the reports we're getting, it signed those agreements with 4 platinum houses. Now, those negotiations, as I said, took 4 months, but AMCU leader Joseph Mathunji were actually saying he's quite satisfied that finally this might be the oomph needed to actually bring up the affected workers and their families. Just 1,000 Rand more, but indeed it will go somewhere, Faith.
And then on the other side of it, we've got Telkom, for example, which is confirmed that it's currently even in talks for the purchase of Cell C.
That's a big story for today. Telkom has confirmed that it is in talks to buy the network operator Cell C. So it made that announcement to shareholders this morning. Telkom saying it has substantially concluded its due diligence, but discussions are only at a preliminary stage. Now, Telkom hasn't provided further details, but it does say the potential acquisition is subject to regulatory approval. A tie-up between these two giants, I talk of Cell C and Telkom's mobile division, will reportedly create a business with about 22 million subscribers. Now, the news follows speculation over the past few weeks that Telkom wants to buy the debt-laden mobile phone operator. Why? Because it plans to break the stronghold of MTN and Vodacom. Cell C, by the way, is sitting on enormous debt. It's about 8.7 billion Rand. So how far will this deal go to materialize the acquisition? We'll have to wait and see. There's still a regulatory hurdle that needs to be jumped if indeed that deal does go ahead. Let's take a look at the JSE. And this morning, starting off purely in the negative, but getting some ground being gained. Most of the slide earlier in the day was because of a poor showing on the commodity front. So gold also sliding. But globally, you have some upbeat sentiment. Why is that? Because the US-China trade dispute seems to be getting some good sentiment around it. So globally, markets are liking it. The JSE is taking some of that good sentiment. And although it's not showing on the overall board, but financials and banks, as you can see, 0.5% higher this afternoon. That's partly because of the stronger Rand. In fact, let's take a look at the Rand against other major currencies, and you'll see that against the US dollar, 14 Rand 74. For a euro, 16 Rand 26. Just above 19 Rand for a British pound this afternoon. And as I said, this is just not the Rand. Emerging market currencies overall would be gaining when we see the dollar just lose some ground because of the fact that people are rushing to equities, and news of the China trade spat gaining some ground on the positive side might be the reason why we've got that good showing.